Chris Evans is coming back to the MCU in Avengers Doomsday, and it's looking increasingly likely he'll be joining the fray alongside his old avenging compatriot as a twisted evil variant of the character we knew.
Hail Hydra.
Whilst it will be undeniably awesome to see evil versions of the original 6 Avengers, and possibly more taking on the new Avengers, and possibly Toby and Hugh.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Gonna cry?
I would be seriously surprised if the original Iron Man and Captain America are not brought into the fold to help by the time Secret Wars rolls around. So that begs the question, what has Steve Rogers been up to in that time? Ever since Cap left, the MCU fans have wanted to see his iconic unseen final mission, returning the Infinity Stones to their rightful places in a journey across space and time. Not only was Cap a rather earthbound hero, zipping across the universe and perhaps even the multiverse, he was wielding Mjolnir to encounter all manner of otherworldly threats. The coolest part, the Captain must have reunited with his longtime nemesis, the Red Skull, now the guardian of the Soul Stone itself. Marvel scribes Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely said there would have been an awesome one-act play regarding the Sentinel of Liberty coming face to face with the Skull on Vormir, and the fans have all concurred. So with potentially multiple variants of Cap coming back in a huge way, wouldn't it be awesome to finally realise this legendary mission with Chris Evans? There were even rumours of a Disney Plus streaming show taking place with this very idea, but who knows how much the scoopers online just spew whatever they can muster to keep the revenue going, let's be honest. Either way, I don't believe a film or Disney Plus show would be the way to go. Making a Steve Rogers Cap movie now would potentially undermine Sam Wilson's Cap. He's only made 2 appearances as the character in 4 years, which is ridiculous, and I want his first solo movie to lead to more success for him. Having 2 competing Cap movies side by side would make about as much sense as having 2 competing Batman movies in separate universes in development. Say what? A streaming show doesn't make much sense to me either. We've seen how grand cinematic franchises have suffered when being translated to the costly yet still underwhelming streaming model. If Cap is going on a huge cosmic journey, I don't think a 6-part event would do it justice. So how could this story happen? Well, you've seen the title. I think the best way to realise this would be an epic video game. Captain America across space and time, with Chris Evans returning to voice Steve Rogers, an awesome action adventure that is actually canon to the MCU. The first MCU canon video game, a true foray into something different for the cinematic universe. If you like this video and want to watch more Marvel videos from me, then please subscribe with the notification bell on, and like this video because it really helps the channel. Comment below what you think would make for the perfect canon MCU video game. If you want to get my full thoughts on the Fantastic Four trailer, including an intriguing Galactus multiverse theory, then please check the description or pinned comment for a full fat podcast chat. And please subscribe to the podcast channel for weekly podcast clips. We'll be breaking down Brave New World and Daredevil in the weeks to come, so you don't want to miss out. I've long thought video games are an untapped market for so many franchises that could use a break on the big screen. The Matrix Resurrections could have been a video game instead of a movie, and it would have made the plot make more sense. Indiana Jones flopped at the box office with an aged Harrison Ford, but has seen great critical success as a ludic adventure. So I think this is a case where we could have our cake and eat it too. We get a brand spanking new Steve Rogers adventure, the big screen Cap remains, and we get to explore the MCU in a whole other medium. There have been MCU video games before, but they were all non-canon exploits, adaptations of the movies they shared their names with. This would be a different beast, a video game from the ground up, set within the same universe, but not confined by it. This would be the canon way these events went down, making it an irresistible purchase for fans of the MCU. You'd have to play this Cap solo movie in order to experience it. Chris Evans' Cap would finally be able to do something he never did on screen ever again, share a story with his arch nemesis, Red Skull, brought back to life by Ross Marquand.
We are all wrong.
An often forgotten element of Red Skull's profession in Infinity War and Endgame is that he gets fired. Once Hawkeye takes the Soul Stone, in that continuity, he is out of a job. Even though he was a passive guardian to the stone in both movies, guiding others to a treasure he could not possess, wouldn't it be interesting to see what happens when he is freed? And this isn't the same old Skull Cap fought in the 40s. The guy now has cosmic power bestowed upon him, and I'm willing to bet sod's law he gets to keep it in the absence of the Soul Stone. However, the moment Schmidt realizes he's free to leave, time-hopping Rogers shows up. He's of course there to return the Soul Stone, but Skull isn't having any of it, and he escapes, prompting Steve to not only have to return the 6 stones and correct the timeline, but stop the Red Skull from finishing his life's work on a destructive scale hitherto undreamt of.
Did you seriously just say hitherto undreamt of?
From Vormir to Mimir. The gameplay could play out like a cosmic God of War-esque action-adventure game. Indeed, many of the satisfying mechanics to throw and recall the Leviathan axe in that series felt ripped straight out of Thor's wheelhouse, and Cap is going to be having the hammer in this story, so it would translate perfectly for this hammer-wielding Cap adventure.
Throwing the Leviathan just so damn satisfying.
Imagine the kind of kinetic combat and finishes you could perform with this setup. You might even be able to get to fly. Of course, Cap's shield would have to come into play in some manner, and I like the idea of that arguably less powerful weapon being the one you unlock later in the game. Since the shield was destroyed when Steve left, but it was rebuilt by the time he returned, it makes perfect sense for the shield to be restored during the story and given back to him. The iconic primary weapon of Cap would be the one you'd have to wait for, but boy would it pay off when you do unlock it. Echoing how awesome it was to unlock the Blades of Chaos deeper into the God of War 4 story. The combos Cap pulled off in his one-on-one with Thanos were electric, pun intended, and so getting to combine the shield and hammer for the game's third act would be so much fun. The Crystal Dynamics Avengers game was incredibly flawed for a multitude of reasons, but the combat with Cap was one of the game's strongest elements. It was really fun to donk people with it, that's the technical term, and the game captured his incredible speed and power. You could easily have a Cap game all to himself. I even think there would be something fun in getting to equip one of the 6 stones for some sort of special ability or passive buff. The video game applications of time manipulation, teleportation, extra damage, reality warping, and mind control are on a plate, quite frankly. The only thing that seems counterintuitive to this as a video game is that in returning the stones, you would lose access to them, but maybe there's some strategy in that. What if you could choose to return the stones in any order you want to progress through the game, also being able to choose any level you want to start with? But it means that if you lose the stone, if you put it back, you lose that stone's abilities. So you end up electing to return them in a certain order that best benefits your playstyle. You could visit so many iconic locations in video game form, not only the stone locations from Endgame, the Battle of New York, Morag, Asgard, and Vormir, but really, well, anywhere from the entire run. Steve could go back to World War II, he could be flung into an uncertain future, he could visit Ego's planet, Nowhere, Comatage, the Dark Elves world, Wakanda, maybe even the Void and the TVA if the story would allow. He could meet up with iconic MCU characters. Imagine a mission buddied with 60s era Hank Pym a la Endgame's cameo. Or what if the game gave us our first canon meeting between Steve and heroes he never met in live action, like Shang-Chi or even Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman?
Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Gonna cry?
I personally would just love to see him in space more, and in Asgard particularly. That was one location since 2012's Avengers I assumed the team would all go to, but it was unfortunately destroyed before the chance came. He'd also spend more time with MCU heroes that he met, but didn't get a whole lot of time with. top of my list would be Spider-Man, Star-Lord, and Doctor Strange. They could each assist you in respective levels, and maybe some villains could even do the same. Obviously, Cosmic Skull is anchoring the story, but it would be cool to face Batroc, Zemo, the Serpent Society, and maybe even the Winter Soldier in a time-bending way. What if Bucky was affected by the Time Stone in a level, and he kept oscillating between your ally and enemy, Bucky and the Winter Soldier? Star-Lord and Cap could bond over being men, ushered out of time and ushered out of their native moments on Earth. Cap and Spider-Man could finally get the relationship that I think the pair deserved over Spider-Man and Iron Man. If you're venturing out into space, you could get the two captains, Marvel and America, together. And I know I did joke about Huey and Toby, but man, it would be really cool to finally get some time with Chris Evans' Cap and a Wolverine. Because even if they meet in Secret Wars, I don't think they're going to spend that much time together, given all the other moving parts. This could not only feel like an awesome action game that captures Cap's moveset like never before, but it could feel like an essential piece of MCU storytelling. You get to explore the MCU past the movies, but feel like you've caught something that had to be experienced in this chosen medium. Going forward with the MCU, I think it's likely that it will need to keep curbing the amount of movies and shows it releases. There's been one too many box office disappointments, and it's clear after the 2021 to 2022 run that you can have too much of a good thing. I think after Secret Wars, once the universe is rebooted to include the Avengers, Spider-Man, the X-Men, Defenders, and Fantastic Four under one world for the first time ever in live action, it would be high time to keep the focus on these A-listers, at least for film and TV. Give us 2 films a year and a TV show at most. So why not lean more into canon video gaming to prop up some other characters, big or small, in its stead? James Gunn has stated that he wants his newborn DCU to have canon video games released alongside its animation and film components, so it will be interesting to see what becomes of that. If it works, I think it could be a really good thing, providing a new medium to enjoy an extensive comic book universe without oversaturating the media that has been inundated with the genre for the past 20 years. If it works out for the DCU, you can bet the MCU will follow suit. I think the only roadblock to this idea, other than the fact that I'm not a game developer and this would never happen anyway, is the fact that games take so long to make now at a AAA level. If this was a game in the heyday of the MCU, 2 to 3 years would be likely. Arkham Asylum's awe-inspiring classic sequel, Arkham City, took just 2 years. We got an Uncharted sequel every 2 years until we got to the 4th game. These are the kind of action games in the 7th generation that would have been comparable to this, and given the release schedule for Doomsday and Secret Wars, it would have been perfect to see a game like this released after Doomsday, but before Steve's live-action return as Prime Cap in Secret Wars. But alas, the industry is in a bit of a state when it comes to turnaround, often taking more like 4 to 5 years on a good development cycle. The Wolverine game was announced over 4 years ago and still isn't ready. The Wonder Woman game has reportedly had its development completely rebooted, meaning we won't see that for many more years, if at all. What has become of the announced EA Motive Iron Man game, or Blade game, or Black Panther game? It's not really the fault of all the hardworking and talented developers, but an industry whose graphical standards have snowballed to a point that cannot be kept up long term. Anyhow, a guy can dream. I would love to get a Chris Evans voiced canon Cap game filling in his most important unseen story. And what about you? Can you dig it? Or is there another corner of the MCU you'd like to see as an authentic video game, perhaps a corner unlikely to become a film or show? A game exploring Rocket and Groot's past, or perhaps Rocket's new Guardians team? A Hulk standalone game, seeing him finally take on the leader? A game covering Star-Lord's time on Earth? Let me know your ideas in the comments below.
Let's go get this son of a bitch.
A big thank you to my current full fat tier patrons, Dr. Chike and Peter Vaughan. Thank you so much for your massive contributions, and I hope you enjoyed this video and many more to come.